Lori here. I'm back today to do sort of a different video that I don't think I've ever really done before. But I'm gonna kind of talk through some unique reads that I've picked up recently that I don't think that a lot of people have really chatted about or heard about, and I just want to sort of tell you why I think that they're unique. These are books that I have mostly read this year. I think all of them I read this year. So if you guys want to do like an overall unique reads video, let me know, because I definitely have read some unique books in the past, but these are focusing on books that I have read recently. So the first book I'm going to chat about is one that I have definitely read recently, and that is From Little Tokyo with Love by Sarah Kuhn. This is a Cinderella inspired story which has a old Hollywood or new Hollywood twist. But the reason I like this book is it is like a novel, like it is a story, but then you also have like every couple of chapters you have sort of like once upon a time as she is creating her own fairy tale or her own story with her as the hero, which I really liked. But at the heart of the story is a character named Rivka, and she lives with her stepmom and her step cousins, and she has sort of always been kind of isolated by the Japanese community because you don't know who her dad is, and she feels like she's not really Japanese American, and her town can be a little bit harsh to her because she's not the typical Japanese American that everyone wants to see. But one day they have this parade in her town, and a very famous Hollywood actress named Grace comes into town, and when Grace makes a connection with her, she starts to think that maybe this is her mother. But when Grace goes missing, she has to team up with a actor on her potential mom's movie to sort of uncover what is really happening. It was super cute, super fun. It was like a really fun Cinderella story at the end of the day, and it's been so long, probably since I read Geekerella, that I really enjoyed a modern day take on a fairy tale. So I really like this one. It also had a lot of important conversations about being Japanese American. It does take place in California, so it doesn't take place in Tokyo, but it did talk a lot about being Japanese American. I'm always a big fan of books about Hollywood, and that was a twist in this story, and it was really fun. And I think at the end of the day, it definitely went in a direction that I wasn't expecting, but I really enjoyed it, and I hope you will consider checking this out soon. The book that I'm going to chat about in this video is one that has taken me so long to read, and that is Long May She Reign by Brianna Thomas. So this is a murder mystery set in like a fantastical world, or like a historical fiction world, I guess, but there's no real magic that is sort of captivating. But you basically follow this character named Freya, and she is, at the start of the book, she's 23rd in line to the throne. But when she's very socially anxious, she doesn't like crowds, so she's very much has a science-based approach to just about everything. But when her and her best friend decides to get away from the crowd and the dinner, everyone else is killed in front of her, and she has to sort of uncover who through science has killed everybody, and now she's basically the queen, and she has to sort of do that. She does have her dad as a ally, and she has her best friend as an ally, and she also has an unexpected ally. I really like this book. I did not know how to predict it. Like, I didn't know who the killer was. I thought it was great. And I thought that the world was really compelling. It didn't have any fantastical or magical elements, but they do talk a lot about the gods in this story. And I really enjoyed it. And it was very unique because normally when you read like a murder mystery, it's set in contemporary times. It definitely was set in like a fantasy world, but there was no real magic system there. I really liked it. There was a romance that I got behind, and the plot twists at the end were super shocking. I have not heard anyone talk about this book relatively recently, but I really liked it. It would be a great like fall read, or just like a fun fast-paced read, because I really wound up liking this one and think that you should definitely check it out. This physical read that I have to chat about is Glimpse by G.F. Miller. This is a very godmother inspired story, but you basically follow this girl named Charity, and she sort of leads people to their happily ever after. But when her happily ever after business gets outed, you can hear stuff in the background. My dad is listening to something incredibly loud, but sort of going on with this. But when her happily ever after, her planning and her trying to make people happy makes someone very unhappy, he starts blackmailing her, and she starts uncovering what is behind her fairy godmother ability and her predictions. It was really interesting. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like I don't remember the name of it, but it was the one where he was like setting people up. I thought this was really, really fun. The romance really grew on me. I liked it. It sort of reminded me a little bit of like the Potion Diaries series, another like very, very quiet YA series. I thought the romance was fun, and I liked how she sort of had to solve problems. There was a little bit of blackmail in it, but at the end of the day, it was a really, really fun read that I enjoyed reading about. I thought the world was fun, and it sort of looked at like fairy godmothering, which is not a topic that is super popular anywhere other than fairy tales, in a contemporary lens, and I really, really enjoyed it. It reminded me a little bit of like a match made in Medity, or another story that had like a dating element to it, but it did have a really, really enjoyable ending as well. So I think that if you're looking for kind of a unique read that has fairy tale elements in it, sort of like From Tokyo with Love, this is another one that I think that you should definitely check out. A book I'm going to talk about in this video is This Poison Heart by Kaylin Barron. Here's a photo. From the author that wrote Cinderella is Dead. I haven't got around to that one quite yet, but this is basically sort of like a secret garden inspired story, sort of. But you basically follow this main character. She's living with her mom, with her two moms in New York City, and they're kind of struggling a little bit financially. They may have to close down their shop, but when she gets an inheritance from the person she was adopted from, saying that she basically now owns this estate, she goes there, and in New York, she does have these powers that do connect with nature, and she has never really known how to control them, and they lead to some kind of disastrous consequences. But when she goes to this estate, she realizes that her powers may not be all bad, but they're definitely not all good, and she starts to uncover that and sort of uncover what happens to her family. Definitely has some massive Secret Garden vibes. There was a lot of twists and turns in this story that I did not see coming at all. I really enjoyed the plot progression in this story. Also, the relationship between Brie and her mom, I think her name's Brie, and her mom were really, really sweet. There's definitely like a potential romantic plot developing. There will definitely be a book 2 in this series, but I was really invested in the mystery element to it, and it just gave me like massive like Secret Garden vibes, but also like Little Shop of Horrors in a sense. So if you're looking for something that involves nature, I think it would be a really, really good book to read in like the summer or the spring, because there's a lot of growth with that. But also there is some mystery elements that really captured me that I also really, really liked. So that is why that book made this list, and I'm definitely going to be checking out the sequel. And I do want to check out her other books soon. About is a Regency romance or historical fiction romance that I just really, really loved, and it's called The Footman and I, and here's a photo. And why this one is on this list is it's not like a typical like forced marriage book. It's not like any other really trope I've read, and I just found it was a delight to listen to. But you basically follow this main character named Lucas, and he has had his heart broken recently by a very, very mean suitor that basically said they had planned to get married, but when someone who was in a station above him proposed, he sort of got ditched. So he and his friends, as they're drinking, decide that they're all going to pretend to be servants at a big house party and see if they can pick out the women that are nice to servants, and that will sort of dictate who Lucas is going to marry. But when his pets come across this young lady who is trying to veto a bill that he's been working on in honor of his dead brother, things don't go according to plan, but it was so fun. I did not want to put this book down. I read the first 2 books in this series. They were both really, really good. This was definitely my favorite, and I just loved the characters. Really, really enjoyable. It was a really fun Regency romance with like not all the tropes I was expecting, all the typical tropes, and it was just fun. You had a main character who was interested in politics, and they were butting heads. The servant twist was super fun. You actually do see them being servants, and I really liked all the characters, so much so that I might have to like read the rest of the series soon, but that is why this book made the list. Last book I'm going to chat about in this series, or this video, is Dial A for Aunties by Jessie C. Cuento. Here is a photo. This book, like the previous one, was just so much fun to read. to cozy mysteries in the past, mostly the Hannah Swanson series, but I've been trying to diversify my cozy mystery reading. This one popped up and I thought it sounds so unique, and I definitely did. If you are a cozy mystery reader and you want one that's a little bit different, I would definitely recommend you check this one out. But you basically follow this girl. She is Indonesian Chinese, and she helps run a wedding planning business with her mother and her aunts. And her mom sets her up to go out on a date with this guy, but when he turns up dead, she calls her aunties to help dispose of the body, and it is hilarity when the body gets shipped to the wedding that her ex-boyfriend is running. So much drama uncovers. This was such a delight. Like, I literally was flipping through the pages to get to it. It has my favorite trope, which is a flash from the past romance. I loved it. It's going to be a series. I'm definitely checking it out. And just another one, I don't have a photo of it, but Finlay Donovan is Killing It is another cozy mystery book with another twist. This one features a writer that gets sucked into a murder for hire plot. And the books are very, very similar from the get out because it's a very interesting take on a cozy mystery. Normally you have someone who like solves a murder because it's in her experience or in like her job or her location, like the Hannah Swanson series. This, they actually inadvertently might have committed a murder, and I just really, really like both of them. So that's why I added them to this list. But let me know in the comments what are some unique reads you have read recently, and I'll talk to you guys soon for my next video. Bye, friends.